Thank you, Carlos. Thank you so much for doing this very, very important boater safety, very quick webinar, or I guess video. With so many people heading out for 4th of July weekend, I thought it'd be very important to do this. And I know that you're very involved with boater safety, since you are with MarineMax. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience with boating in general?
Yeah, so I grew up with my godfather going to the Keys pretty much every Memorial, Labor Day, 4th of July, a week or two in the summer. So for me, I was blessed. I grew up on the water, fishing, just going to the sandbar, going to Alligator Reef.
Yeah.
And I've been blessed the last 7 years working here at MarineMax, where I do this now for a living, and get to introduce, sometimes new boaters, sometimes experienced boaters, to the boating world as well.
It's awesome. And MarineMax is one of the largest boating brokerage, right? Are they a boating brokerage, or what exactly is MarineMax?
So we do both. We're a boat dealer and a boat broker, so we can do both. But we are a
Oh,
new boat dealer.
okay, perfect. So we'll touch on that at the end, but I wanted to just jump into what everybody's probably going to want to know. What's the number one safety tip you wish everybody knew?
The number one safety tip is play defense. Speed is not your friend sometimes, right? Assume the other person doesn't know what they're doing. Unfortunately, when you go out on the water, there's no red lights, there's no stop signs, there's no lights. I mean, you do have your, some different signs and stuff like that, but I always pretend or assume that the other person doesn't know what they're doing and play defense. So even though you
They
may
they
have,
usually don't, by the way, and especially if you're boating near like one of these kiosks or these areas where they rent boats, that I find that to be especially, and jet skis, especially dangerous.
the jet skis are, yes, are,
Oh
are,
my God,
are, are
really
no fun.
crazy.
But yeah, that's the number one thing is play defense. Assume the other guy or the other captain doesn't know the rules of the road, per se, and play defense, right? We're not in a rush. I always tell people when I'm talking to my customers, I said, you're on a boat. What's the rush? You know, enjoy the time. Enjoy the time when you're out there, relax and enjoy the time.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that much of Biscayne Bay is protected. It's protected habitat, and there's like no wake zones and things like that, and people just speed through. They're manatee zones. I mean, it's crazy.
Mhm.
But anyways, what's the biggest mistake you see people make on holiday weekends?
I mean, I think the obvious one, and unfortunately, but is drinking and boating. Um, you know, just like when you're on the road, you got to drink responsibly. If you're the captain, I know it's hard to say sometimes don't drink, but you really, really, really got to watch yourself. On the water, it's easy to think, oh, I'm only going to have two, and next thing you know, you had seven because you're
Yeah,
in the water, you're just one after the other. You really, really, really have to watch yourself and have a game plan to not drink.
especially with the Malibu and pineapple. Oh, it's really good. But anyways, I digress. No, I grew up, obviously in South Florida, and so I get it. It was very different when I was a kid out on the waterways. It was not, there's just so many more people here right now, and so many that are kind of new to our waterways. So this is very important information for experienced and for new boaters in our area. If someone is invited on a boat, what should they know as a guest?
Yesterday I was doing a training for two clients that bought a new boat for me, and one of the things I told them, I said, hey, look, as a captain, it's your responsibility to let everybody know where your life jackets are, what maybe some safety precautions. He's got a center console, so I said, look, no kids should be in the console area, especially when the boat engines are on. So that's the responsibility, I think, of the captain. But as me coming on the boat, I may want to have some precautions, right? I may want to have a first aid kit. I don't know if the captain has one. I want to know right away where are the life jackets, right? God forbid something does happen. You want to know where the life jackets are. Depending on if you have kids and what their ages are, you may want to make sure their life jackets are on.
And
Um,
why no kids by the console? Can you just in case people don't know?
Sorry, what was that, Maji?
Why no children by the console area?
So the reason is, I mean, look, especially nowadays, kids starting at 5, 6 years old have phones and stuff like that. They're distracted. And if the engines are on and you've got the throttles there, and I can tell you from my experience, I had taught a customer that said, hey, no kids are on the console that weekend. I happened to be going out fishing. I was with my brother and my nephew. We were out, luckily, 300 or 400 feet of water, and all of a sudden I felt the engine, jump up. And I was like, "What?" My nephew, which is, probably 10 or 11 at the time, went to grab his phone, and when he reached out, his, forearm hit one of the throttles and just kind of jerked the boat. So,
Wow, how dangerous.
and it was funny. I was like, man, that I had just told my clients that weekend, the week before, because they had kids. I said, hey, no kids in the console. Again, my brother and I were getting the rods ready while we're getting ready to go
Yeah, you
fish.
were distracted. And I mean, imagine if that happens to you and you're super experienced, you teach this. I mean, wow. Well, that's a big lesson. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. That's a really important story to share. Um, okay. Any etiquette tips around fireworks or crowded waterways?
Oh, yeah, look, I mean, I don't. I would highly, highly recommend do not throw any fireworks around your boat or from your boat. Just dangerous. You're a confined area. So that'd be my tip. I mean, there's nothing I can tell you to be safe around. Just don't do it.
Yeah, fireworks and boats don't mix.
No, no.
But it is kind of cool to watch fireworks from the mainland out in the water. That's actually a really cool once and being in the water. But then you've got to be careful with that too, because a lot of boaters are distracted. So you don't want to get run over, so there's that too. So what's one myth people still believe that isn't true?
One myth that people still think is true. Um, I would say that the safety is the captain's job, right? It's all of our jobs. It's whether it's me driving it or somebody else, I have to be watching out. Um, I have to be watching out for the captain, and everybody else, right? It's not just the captain's job anymore. It's all of us, right? These boats are getting bigger and bigger. There's a lot of people in the boats, and it's everyone's job to be safe out there.
Yeah, most definitely. And it's also, I find that the speed limits are very confusing in certain parts of the bay. Um, it's,
I
I'm
mean,
sorry, can you
here,
repeat?
a lot
I
of them
didn't
don't
catch
have
that.
speed limits. So where I work from in our area, the speed limit's 30 miles an hour. But most of, you go out in Biscayne Bay and you're in the channels there, there's no speed limit there. Um, I think it's back to the captain making sure that they're in a comfortable position and the speed that they feel comfortable driving at.
You're right,
Um,
but the problem is that you get out the channel's one thing, but then when you want to get out of the channel, like if you want to go to one of the islands, those little yeah, a million and one islands that we have out in the bay, or go to a dock or something, you're not in the channel anymore, and they sometimes keep speeding. They don't understand.
Speed is not your friend again.
No.
You've got to understand your boat and drive where you feel comfortable, the speed that you feel comfortable, and understand your surroundings. As you're getting to a shallow area, as you're getting to a sandbar, slow down, right? Neutral plus a little click there just to kind of get you there. But again, you're on a boat. What's the rush?
Exactly. People just like, I mean, they just like speed, I guess, and I get it, but it's just so dangerous for yourself, for your passengers, and for everybody around you, and in other boats and in the water diving or even the marine animals, marine life. It's just not a good idea. Okay, so what should boaters be aware of? Should they have a designated driver, and should they have scouts, like on the lookout for dive flags, for example, or people that are, water skiing or that kind of thing?
And yes, absolutely have a designated driver, a designated captain. That's 100%. As for the scouts, listen, 100%. We're all responsible to help the captain out. Understand to a certain degree, right? You also don't want to make it where it's a distraction. I don't want five people standing in the front of the bow where now I can't see, right? But if you can do it where, okay, captain still has
One.
his full visibility, but I can help him say, hey, captain, there's a pylon, there's a dive flag, something coming up. That's great, all right? More eyes on the water are helpful, but not at the point where you're distracting the driver.
That's a very important, yeah, that's a very important point. Um, is there access to info on our waterways, including the markers, the low wake zones, the depth of the different channels and areas, especially with so many new boaters in our waterways?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's so many apps out there. I've got Navionics, for example, on my phone. Most, I think, that's kind of what most people have, but every boat nowadays, Maj, is coming with at least one
Depth
GPS
finder.
depth finder. It's got your channel markers. It's got your depth. It's got everything you need. I mean, most of them, I mean, realistically nowadays, most boats have two of them, right? With the 25, 28, they're going to have two GPS. So information, it's not for a lack of information. It's for lack of following the information you have at your fingertips.
Well, I mean, for somebody that's new to the area, and they're just even like renting a boat, because there's like a lot of these illegal rental, jet ski rentals, especially, and that's like the wild, wild west. Um, you know, how how do you avoid, I mean, I don't even know, I don't even know how to ask this question, but it's just those type of organizations or companies make it very dangerous on the waterway for people that are actual, boaters, seasoned boaters, and it's just, how do you deal with that?
That's a tough one, Maji. These companies are in business to make money. Um, they don't want to scare a potential client. Hey, by the way, we got to do an hour training, and so I hate to say it, I got to put the onus on A, the companies that are renting out these boats, or the people that are renting out these boats, and B, it goes back to the responsibility as a captain, right? I'm going to give you a perfect example. Yesterday, I delivered that boat. It was down in Alamorada. I spent some time in Alamorada, but I wasn't 100% knowledgeable of that area. So I told the customer, I said, "Hey, George, let's go nice and slow. Let's go nice and slow. Let's figure this out together." He was new to the area as well. I said, "Hey, let's go nice and slow, figure it out. We got the GPS, right? Let's make sure we follow it. Keep your track on your GPS so that's where his marina is, so that now in the future you know exactly how to come in and out." But that's what it was. We took it nice and slow till we said, okay, now I'm getting to an area where I know it. Okay, now we know we can go a little faster or what have you. But it's keep it simple. Go slow. Going slow, you have more time for reflex, more time for reaction. But ultimately, it
Okay.
comes down to the captain. If I was moving to Miami, for example, and I'm buying a boat here and I'm going to start boating here, I know you're kind of getting there. I would absolutely find a local captain that knows the waterways, and maybe the first two or three times minimum, I'm going out with them, help me understand the waterways. What do I like to do? I like going to restaurants. Okay, how do I get to these restaurants? If I want like the sandbar, how do I get to the sandbar? What's my line? Things like that.
That's actually a very good advice, not only for new people out on our waterways, but young people that are, new boaters. Like that would be probably a really good idea. Go on a boat with an experienced captain, and so that they can like show you.
Yeah, and that I would say that for like, I mean, if you're new to the area, so and I'm going to plug Captain Harley, but there's a guy named Captain Harley Hunt. He's from How To Boating.
Well, hold on,
Uh,
hold on, hold on, hold on. What's his name?
Hunt. He's
Harley Hunt.
Hunt. He's the captain. He has the Instagram page How To Boating, and I always recommend him or Nick. I've got a couple of different contacts. That they are trainers. They actually because not every captain is good at teaching, right? Some are very good captains, but when it's trying to teach somebody, they're not as good. Harley and Nick, which are two people that I've gotten to know over the last 7 years, they're fantastic at teaching people how to boat, how to use the boat, how to use it properly, how to drive the boat. But again, if you know how to drive the boat and you just want to know the waters, then okay, then maybe find a local captain that knows the waters, just so you know, okay, it's shallow here, it's deep here, and those kind of things.
And where would people be able to find
Harley,
Harley Hunt?
go to Instagram, How To Boating. I mean, he's a great follow. I mean, he's got great information there. He does, small videos, sometimes a minute, 2 minutes, 30 seconds, with just basic stuff. I mean, you talk about learning the waters, boating safety. A lot of the videos he shot here at MarineMax with us. So he's not only a friend, we have, a mutual partnership that we work together to make sure we try and teach more people to be safe on the waters.
And responsible. Yeah, that's awesome. And if they didn't want it, because I mean, where is he located?
He's out of Fort Lauderdale, but he
Okay.
does. I mean, I've had him go down to the Keys. I've had him go up north. He'll do the training anywhere.
Okay, okay. All right, cool. Okay. Okay, so I know you're involved closely with the Lucy Foundation. Please let everybody know what that's about.
So, listen, it's all, if you're from South Florida, you don't know what the Lucy Foundation, always would be in the news in the last couple of weeks. So Lucy was a girl that did pass away in a boating accident 4 years ago. Her dad, Andy, is a friend of the family's. My brother and him went to high school together, so I've known Andy for many years. Um, Probably about a year after she passed away, they were starting work and they started a foundation called the Lucy Foundation. And really, the gist of the foundation is boating safety, getting some more, rules and some more laws. It's amazing that when the accident happened, there wasn't a ton of laws around accidents and things like that
I
on the water.
know, I know.
Um, I believe last July 1st, they passed the Lucy law for the state of Florida. But again,
Big.
we've done tons of, we've done a lot of boating safety classes. The last couple of years, they held a weekend boating safety course. It was a weekend long. Just last month at a Coral Reef Yacht Club, we had a boating safety seminar with, MarineMax and a couple other sponsors. We put it together free of charge, and we asked for donations to the Lucy Foundation. So again, they're personal friends of mine. Andy and Melissa, worked with them for the last 3 years and helping them get the word out to hopefully have people vote more safely.
Yeah, Lucy's a Lord's alumni, so am I.
Mhm.
Actually, no, she was a Lord's student. She was in
But
senior year, right?
yeah,
Oh,
I believe it's
yeah,
junior
that was
senior. Yeah,
very, very, very tragic. And then her friend actually was injured, probably has
got the,
lifelong.
yeah,
Yeah,
got the quick. Yeah, and
yeah,
Lucy went to elementary school at the same school as my kids at Epiphany. So again, it really touched on a personal level, but then also the community at school was really touched by it. So again, it was a no-brainer for me to get involved in.
absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so tell us about Marine Max, and let's end it with that.
Yeah. So, MarineMax, we are a boat dealer. We've been in Miami for over 30 years. We are nationwide. We are a publicly traded company. Largest, I think we said at the beginning, largest boating retailer in the world. We have over 100 locations nationwide. But for me, South Florida is our market. We do have three stores in the Keys, one here in Miami. And boating safety is near and dear to our heart. We've over the last couple of years, we've shifted a little bit, partnering more with Lucy and doing some bigger events, trying to make it out to the public. But we strive on safety. We have classes called Women on Water, right? But the reality is a lot of time the man, the husband, is usually the one that's captaining the boat, and the woman thinks like, okay, I'm just kind of here along for the ride. But no, we teach the women, the wives, to say, hey, A, God forbid something happens to your husband, you need to know how to take over, or at least have some basic information, know how to call for Mayday, right? Call for help, or at least get the boat back to the dock. So we teach women on water. We teach kids in boating, right? And kids in boating is, we had Captain Harley actually teach the class, and we took a boat out with a bunch of, 8 to 12 year olds, and we got them
Wow.
all to dock the boats. Captain
Wow.
Harley teaching them to dock the boats on their own, no joystick, just with the engines and the throttles. Again,
What?
teaching them basics. But again, we do those, we try and do the kids in boating at least 2 or 3 times a year, women on water 2 or 3 times a year, and then we'll just do some regular boating safety. Um, Again, in addition to that, perfect example, yesterday I delivered a boat down in Amarada, and I spent 6 hours with the customers. They were brand new customers, first boat they've ever had. We spent about 2 hours on the docks, just literally walking over every system on the boat, making sure they understand the basics, do's and don'ts of boating. And then we spend time on the water. How do you dock? How do you use this? How do you use that? How do you anchor? Right? What are some of the safety precautions when you anchor? So again, for me, it's not just, I want to make sure that when George and Christy, for example, when they come out, go on the water today, they say, okay, we have some pretty good information, some good knowledge when we go out. So it's not just something,
You
we
don't just
talk about.
sell
It's something.
boats. You actually go that extra step. You teach people how to boat safely and how to, yeah, that's actually really important. I know that when we used to own a boat, it did happen. It did happen, where my husband was like, um, he had a sunstroke kind of thing, like, just too much sun,
Yep.
and he was dehydrated, and I had to take over. But I mean, fortunately, I know how to boat.
Yeah, you asked one of the first questions you asked Maji was about the number one thing or what. for me, distractions. And, this is what I was telling them yesterday. I said, listen, it's very easy to get distracted. I love boats. I just love looking at boats and saying, oh man, what's that boat or what have you. And just the other day, I was driving right through the intercoastal and, I was looking at boats and like, oh man, look at that one. Look at this one. Just that's me, right? I was by myself
Yeah.
and I was going in first gear. Like I wasn't even going. I was just, in no minimum wake, very slow. Next thing you know, I was 20 feet outside the channel. Luckily, it was deep and I was fine. But it's just, like I said, it's just a simple distraction. And it took,
Sure. Can happen to
30
anybody.
seconds. And it's just hanging. And so that's the biggest thing when you're behind the wheel. Just try and minimize any distractions. Put the phone away.
Well, it's so
Save
easy
for a
too.
little
You're on
time.
water. It's not even like you're on like a highway on a road. It's different. You're on water. You can't really tell
Right.
as much
Yeah.
when you're veering off. Yeah, wow, that's a very important lesson. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
All right, well, I'm going to end it here. And thank you so much for your time. I know you're heading out for the weekend. Safe boating. All right,
Looking forward to it.
thanks. Okay,
Thank you.
bye.
Thank you, Matthew. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you. Bye.